I paid for my sister's wedding, but somehow, I didn't make the guest list. Yeah, you read that right, I wasn't even invited. Her reason? Apparently, I didn't fit the vibe. Funny thing, though, her smug little smile disappeared real fast when the venue pulled the plug on everything at the last second and she realized what I'd done for her. That moment is burned into my memory. And no, I didn't find out I wasn't invited through some heartfelt chat or a mistake in the mail. There was no awkward mention over dinner. I found out the same way you'd stumble across a party you were never supposed to know about, on social media. There it was. A picture of this fancy invitation card. Gold lettering, all shiny and embossed, laid out like a magazine ad on top of silky white fabric. The caption read, "The countdown begins. Can't wait to celebrate with all my loved ones on the most special day of my life." All her loved ones. Except me. At first, I figured maybe it was just an oversight. Maybe my invite was still in the mail, or she hadn't had the chance to tell me in person. I mean, I just spent the last 6 months breaking my back to make sure she got the wedding she dreamed of. I covered the venue deposit when they were tight on cash. Fronted the catering advance when our parents hesitated. Even sent her money for a wedding dress I hadn't even seen. So I scrolled through the comments under her post, my stomach turning more with every word. Friends, cousins, co-workers, everyone was hyped, gushing about how honored they were to be part of the big day. One person even joked about how exclusive the guest list must be. Exclusive. That word hit me like a gut punch. So I messaged her. Nothing dramatic, just a casual, "Hey, saw the post. Didn't get my invite. Did it maybe get lost?" Then I stared at my phone, waiting for those little dots to pop up. They didn't. 1 hour passed. Then another. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, I'd talked myself into believing I was just being sensitive. She was probably busy. Maybe she just forgot to reply. Then, at 10:34 p.m., my phone finally buzzed. "Hey," she wrote. "I was gonna talk to you about this. I hope you understand, but we had to make some tough calls with the guest list. It's a very curated event, you know. We had to keep things elegant. No offense, but you don't really fit the vibe. I know you'll be happy for me from afar though. Love you. Curated event. Don't fit the vibe. Happy from afar." I read that message 3 times. Each time, it cut a little deeper. This wasn't a simple mistake or an oversight. She hadn't forgotten, I'd been left out on purpose. And deep down, I already knew why. I wasn't like her friends, the ones with their polished nails, tailored suits, and rehearsed laughs that echo through rooftop cocktail parties. I didn't have some sleek office job with a fancy title or chat about investments over brunch. I run an auto repair shop. A damn good one, actually. I specialize in high-end cars and I do well for myself. But to my family? That doesn't count. To them, I'm not a real businessman, I'm just the guy with oil under his fingernails. The one who always smells like a mix of gasoline and sweat. My sister always looked down on that. In her mind, success meant cubicles, air conditioning, and a crisp white shirt. Never mind that I built my shop from nothing, that I work 60-hour weeks, or that I provide good jobs for my crew. She never said anything directly, but I could see it in her eyes every time I showed up to a family dinner straight from the garage. That little wrinkle in her nose. The way she brushed me off when introducing me, "Oh, my brother runs some car place." Like I was a footnote. And now, after everything I'd done, after paying for this so-called elegant wedding, she just scrubbed me right out of the picture. Thing is, I should have seen it coming. This wasn't new. The signs had been there for years. Backhanded comments over dinner. Jokes about me smelling like an engine. My parents beaming when my sister landed a new role at her marketing firm but barely nodding when I opened a second location. But no matter how they treated me, I always showed up when they needed help. So when my sister dreamed up a Pinterest-worthy wedding she couldn't afford, guess who stepped in? I didn't ask for recognition. I did it because we're family. Or so I thought. One night, she sat at the dinner table, twirling her wine glass and whining, "Weddings are just so expensive." I joked, "Well, if you want something fancy, you gotta pay for it." She rolled her eyes. "Easy for you to say. You don't have student debt. You don't have to maintain a professional image. You wear the same boots every day." That's her in a nutshell. Success, to her, is all about the packaging. She never cared that I built something real. That I earned every dollar with sweat and time. To her, I was just the dirty-handed guy who changes spark plugs. But I still helped. No hesitation. When she and her fiancé were short, I wired over the money. For the venue. For the food. Even for that dress she never showed me. I told myself it was for family. That I didn't need a thank you. But now. I wasn't even worth a damn invitation. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid there, tossing and turning, replaying every moment over the past few months. Trying to figure out the exact second she decided I wasn't good enough to show up in her wedding photos. Was it the night I came to dinner straight from work, still in my shop clothes? Was it when she introduced me to her friends like I was a mechanic off the street, "My brother, he works on cars"? Or had she always seen me that way? The next morning, I got in my truck and drove over to my parents' house. No warning. No heads up. I just showed up. I didn't knock. I just walked in. I wanted to hear what they'd say when they didn't think I was around, what they really thought when no one was watching their words. As soon as I stepped through the door, I heard my mom's voice drifting in from the kitchen. "Well, you know how he is," she was saying, that familiar mix of exasperation and disappointment threaded through her voice. I'd heard that tone too many times to count. "I just don't want him embarrassing me," my sister said sharply. "This wedding is supposed to be classy. I can't have him showing up looking like he just rolled out from under a car." My jaw tightened. "He's still family," my dad mumbled. But his words came out flat, like he didn't believe them himself. "Exactly," my sister snapped back. "And he should understand that this isn't about him. I don't need him making people uncomfortable. He just doesn't belong in that kind of crowd." That was enough. I pushed open the kitchen door and stepped in. My sister turned ghost white. My mom suddenly got real interested in whatever she was pretending to stir. Something that didn't even need stirring. "So," I said, keeping my voice even, "that's how you all see me?" My sister hesitated, then stood a little straighter, like she was bracing herself. "Don't take it personally," she said. "It's just, not your kind of crowd." "Not my kind of crowd?" I crossed my arms. She let out a frustrated sigh. "Come on, you know what I mean. Everyone there's from the corporate world, lawyers, execs, people who actually network. You wouldn't have much to talk about with them." "Right. Because I don't sit in a cubicle pushing paper, I must be too dumb to hold a real conversation." "I never said that," she shot back, a little too quickly. But the guilt was all over her face. My mom chimed in then, soft and tired. "Sweetheart, it's a different kind of event. You have to admit, you can come across a little rough. You're always in those work clothes, and you don't exactly carry yourself the way her guests do." I took a slow breath. "I own a business," I said, voice steady. "A damn good one. I make more than half of those refined folks you're so eager to impress. But because I don't wear a tie every day, I'm somehow not good enough." "It's not about the money," my sister groaned. "It's about the image. Look, I appreciate all you've done for the wedding, I do. But this is my day, and I want everything to look a certain way. I just don't think you'd fit in." And there it was. The truth. Cold and clear. It didn't matter that I'd paid for half of it, or that I'd bailed her out more times than I could count. In her eyes, and in theirs, I was still the grease-stained mechanic. The outsider. I nodded slowly. Got it. Oh, don't be like that, my mom jumped in. We'll have a nice family dinner after the honeymoon. Just us. That'll be more your style, anyway. I smiled, but not the kind of smile you give out of kindness. You're right, I said, picking up my keys from the counter. That's more my style. Because where I come from, when someone helps you, you don't turn around and treat them like trash. I walked out before anyone could say another word. On my way back to the shop, my phone buzzed. A text from my sister. Sister, don't make this a big deal, okay? You know I love you. Hope you can still help with the final payment for the cake. It's due Friday. XO. I laughed. Loud. So loud I had to pull over to the side of the road. She really thought I was still going to pay. Like I was just going to swallow my pride, again, and foot the bill. She had no idea I was done. By the time I pulled into the shop, I already knew what I was going to do. For years, I'd been the one they called when things went sideways. The dependable one. The guy who always said yes, even when it cost me more than I let on. I told myself that's just what you do for family. But this? This was the final straw. My sister hadn't just taken my money, she took it while looking down her nose at me. She was happy to cash my checks, but not so happy to be seen with me. I was good enough to fund her big day, but not good enough to stand beside her during it. And now, she had the nerve to hit me up for the cake. Not anymore. I texted her back. Sorry. Wouldn't want to embarrass you by being associated with your wedding. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Good luck. No emojis. No sugarcoating. Just the truth. Less than 5 minutes later, my phone rang. It was her. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Then my mom. Then my dad. By the time I shut down the shop that night, I had 12 missed calls. The next morning, I woke up to a storm of texts. Sister, what do you mean you're not paying? The cake is already ordered. Sister, you can't just back out. We're counting on you. Mom, sweetheart. Don't be spiteful. Let's talk. Dad, we raised you better than this. I stared at the screen, shaking my head. Not one of them said, I'm sorry. Not one apology. Just expectations. Assumptions that I'd keep playing the role they'd cast me in. I called my sister. She picked up on the first ring. Oh my God, finally. Listen, I don't know what's gotten into you, but you're acting insane. You already agreed to pay, so. I changed my mind, I cut her off. Silence. What? I said, I changed my mind, I repeated, slower this time. Letting it sink in. I'm not paying another cent. You'll have to figure it out. Are you serious right now? She snapped. You're seriously going to screw me over like this? I laughed. A deep, bitter laugh. Screw you over. You mean like how you left me off the guest list because I didn't match your wedding aesthetic? Or how you and Mom talked about me like I was some kind of joke? She groaned. Oh my God, that's not the same. That was about appearances. I didn't mean it in a bad way. But this is money. Real responsibility. And it's not my problem, I said calmly. You didn't want me at your wedding. Fine. But you don't get to take my money while pretending I don't exist. You made it clear I don't belong. So now I'm acting like it. You're being so dramatic, she snapped. You're just mad you didn't get invited. Grow up. I exhaled through my nose, doing my best not to lose my temper. You know what's really funny? I said, my voice low. You think this is about the invite? It's not. What gets to me is that you used me. Treated me like your personal bank and still had the nerve to look down on me like I was beneath you. She let out a short, dismissive laugh. Oh, come on. You've got plenty of money. You weren't even gonna miss it. And there it was. Not gratitude. Not even entitlement anymore. Just plain, ugly greed. You're right, I said, my voice turning cold. I've got money. And none of it's ever going to you again. Wait, she started, but I ended the call right there. I was done. For the rest of the week, she didn't reach out. Nothing. But my parents? They couldn't leave it alone. By Saturday, the guilt trip was in full swing. She's under so much stress, my mom whined over the phone. Can't you just do this one thing? It's already all set up, my dad added. What's a couple thousand to you? Family helps family. My mom kept saying that line like it was supposed to mean something. But I'd heard it too many times. So I finally said what I'd been holding back for years. Family helps family. That's rich. Where were you when I was starting my business? When I was working 16-hour days just to stay afloat? When I couldn't afford help and had to do it all myself? I didn't see anyone then. I paid for half this wedding, and I still got treated like a stain. Silence. I'm done, I said. You all can figure it out without me. Then I hung up. Blocked their numbers. Let them sit with it. To be honest, I didn't expect quiet. Not from them. Not from anyone in a family that had treated me like their emergency fund for years. I thought I'd get flooded with calls, pleading, maybe some passive-aggressive, you'll regret this, kind of threats. But the next 2 days? Radio silence. And that's when I realized they weren't giving me the cold shoulder, they were panicking. Scrambling. Trying to patch up the hole I left when I took my money off the table. Trying to fix the fallout from assuming I'd always come through, no matter how badly they treated me. Then, on the 3rd day, my mother showed up. No call, no heads up. Just strolled right into my shop like she owned the place. She glanced around at the cars on lifts, at my team working steady and focused. She looked, out of place. Uncomfortable. I wiped my hands on a rag and crossed my arms. Something wrong? We need to talk, she said, tight-lipped. I nodded toward the office. Be my guest. She walked in and sat down across from my desk, folding her hands like she was bracing herself. Her face looked tense, like she'd rather be anywhere but here. I didn't rush. I let her sit in that awkward silence while I settled into my chair. Your sister's in trouble, she said finally. I raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Oh, don't play dumb, she snapped. You know. I don't, I said, leaning back. But I've got a feeling you're about to fill me in. She exhaled hard, like I was the one trying her patience. The bakery won't release the cake unless they get the final payment. The venue's threatening to cancel unless the balance is cleared. And the florist still hasn't been paid. I didn't say a word. The wedding's in 2 weeks, she continued, her voice rising. She can't cover it all. She doesn't have the money. That's rough, I said calmly. She blinked. Like she genuinely couldn't believe I wasn't jumping up to solve the problem. You have the money, she said slowly, like she was explaining it to a child. You could fix this. You wouldn't even feel it. I gave her a slow, steady smile. And yet, here we are. Her nostrils flared. Stop being petty, she snapped. You agreed to pay. She made plans around that. You can't just pull out at the last minute. I tilted my head. Kinda like how she made her guest list without me. That sort of last-minute change. This isn't the same. Sure it is, I said. She made a choice. I'm making mine. She wanted a wedding without me. Great. That means she doesn't need my money either. My mom let out a long breath and rubbed her temples. I waited, wondering what angle she'd try next. The guilt card. The "you're better than this" routine. But then she sat up straight, like she was done sugarcoating. If you don't help her, she said, she's going to have to downgrade everything. People will notice. She'll be humiliated. I laughed. Loud, but not out of humor. There it is. Now we're getting to what really matters. Her face darkened. It's not just about appearances, she insisted. She deserves a beautiful wedding. No, I said, cutting in. She deserves what she can afford. And clearly, this fantasy wedding wasn't it. Her mouth tightened into a thin line. So that's it? You're just gonna let her suffer? She's not suffering, I said flatly. She's finally facing the consequences. That's all this is. She stared at me, searching for something in my face. Maybe a crack, a sign that I'd fold. But I just stared back. Finally, she stood, smoothed out her blouse, and adjusted her purse strap. You'll regret this, she said quietly. I shrugged. Maybe. She left without another word. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. Over the next few days, the cracks started to show in my sister's picture-perfect wedding plans. First, she posted something vague on Facebook. It's always hardest when the people you rely on let you down. But I guess that's life, right? I ignored it. Then a cousin called me up. Dude, he said. What's going on? Your sister's freaking out. Said you bailed on paying for the wedding. Yep, I said. Why? She didn't invite me. Long pause. Then, oh. Yeah, okay. That tracks. The next day, my sister texted. Sister, can we talk? I waited an hour. Then replied. Me, talk about what? Sister, I don't want things to be like this between us. Can we meet for coffee? I almost laughed when I read her message. She didn't want things to be like this. This, from the same sister who had purposely cut me out of the most important day of her life because I didn't match the aesthetic. She didn't want things to be like this, because now it was inconvenient. Because things weren't going her way. But, I'll admit, I was curious. So I agreed to meet. She was already at the coffee shop when I walked in, tapping her perfectly manicured nails against her paper cup like the world owed her something. She looked up and gave me this soft, hesitant smile. Hey, she said. Hey, I replied, sliding into the seat across from her. She let out a dramatic sigh, the kind that said she wanted sympathy. Look, she started, I know you're upset. I'm not upset, I cut in. I just finally see it for what it is. She blinked. See what for what? That I'm only valuable to you when you need something. When I'm inconvenient, I'm out. But when there's a bill to pay, suddenly I'm family again. That's not fair, she said quickly. Isn't it? I leaned back. You didn't think I was good enough to be at your wedding, but my bank account? That was good enough. Her lips tightened. She looked like she wanted to argue, but couldn't. I just wanted everything to be perfect, she said. And I didn't think you'd care. Well, I said, now you know I do. She hesitated, chewing her bottom lip. If I invite you now, will you still help? I smiled. Then I stood up, slow and steady. Enjoy your wedding, sis, I said. But you'll have to figure it out without me. And I walked out. The morning of her wedding, I woke up feeling free. No stress. No guilt. No last-minute emergencies dumped on my lap. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. There were no calls asking for favors. No frantic texts begging for help. No one expected me to fix what they broke. Because I wasn't invited. And because I had finally stopped caring. But apparently, my family hadn't stopped caring about my money. At 11:27 a.m., my mom called. I let it ring. At 11:42, my dad gave it a shot. Ignored. At 12:03, I got a text from my cousin. Cousin, bro, you're not gonna believe this. The venue just kicked them out. I stared at the screen for a second. Then I laughed. Like, really laughed. The kind of laugh that comes from deep in your chest after years of swallowing your pride. The disaster had arrived. I had warned them. I gave them every chance to get it right. But they didn't listen. They figured, like always, that someone, me, would save the day. But no one did. Without the final payment, the venue canceled everything. Locked the doors while guests were still pulling into the lot, dressed to the nines and looking around in total confusion. The wedding planner scrambled to explain. People stood around waiting, not sure whether to leave or hang tight. My sister. She was losing it. Completely hysterical. The elegant 5-tier cake. Never delivered. The over-the-top flower arrangements. Gone. Her high-profile, brag-worthy wedding. Obliterated. At 1:15 p.m., she finally called me. I picked up. What? I said, flat and calm. Are you happy now? She shrieked. I leaned back in my chair, sipping coffee. Happy about what? You know exactly what, she snapped. The wedding is ruined. Oh, I said, playing dumb. Didn't have the money. You knew we didn't have the money, she screamed. You were supposed to help. You promised. I chuckled. No. You assumed. Silence on the other end. You let me fail, she whispered, her voice shaky. No, I said calmly. You failed all by yourself. Then, for the first time, she cracked. I don't get it, she said, barely audible. Why couldn't you just help? After everything we've been through? After everything I've done? I felt my temper rise. Everything you've done. I repeated, my voice sharper now. You mean using me for years? Taking my money like it was nothing? Talking down to me the moment I wasn't useful anymore? That everything? I didn't mean it like that, she muttered. You never mean it like that, I said, voice ice cold. And that's the damn problem. There was a long pause. Then her voice came back, barely steady. So, this is it. You're really just gonna walk away? I already did, I said. You just didn't notice until now. And I hung up. The wedding ended up happening, in a relative's backyard. No fancy setup. No caterers in tuxedos. Just folding chairs, mismatched decorations, and a thrown-together meal from a local deli. I heard she spent the whole night trying not to cry. Couldn't even enjoy her own wedding. I didn't reach out. Didn't send a gift. Didn't check in. Let them sit with it, for once. And for the first time in my life, I felt something I hadn't in years, peace. It took months for my parents to realize I wasn't bluffing. At first, it was guilt trips. Then it turned to anger. Then came the silence. And now? Now they treat me carefully. Like they finally understand that if they push too far, I'll cut ties completely. As for my sister, she never said sorry. But she never asked for money again either. I'll take that as a win. Me? I'm still here. Still running my shop. Still doing just fine. Only difference now. Every dollar I earn stays in my pocket. And for once, that feels like enough.